Affordable, flexible storage is here. Richiger R-Series bagger and unloader from Show Me Shortline. Maximize your profits with adaptable storage and management. Reduce storage costs and gain a competitive edge by selling at the right time. Visit us online at showmeshortline.com.
Volunteer corn is the worst weed you could possibly have in soybeans. It takes more yield than any other weed, more than velvet leaf, more than lamb's quarters, more than water hemp. It's the worst.
Well, I like to argue with Brian a little bit, but he's absolutely right on this. Even if you have just one plant per 100 feet of row, it's going to pay you a great return on investment to control it. So how do you do it?
Yeah, here's the problem. You have Roundup Ready corn, chances are, and you're planting Roundup Ready soybeans, so Roundup is not going to stop it. You've got to go out there with something like Select Max, for example. And the great thing about the Select Max deal is if you're using Roundup, you're going to get a rebate on the Select Max. If you're using Roundup Weather Max like we do on our farm, we get $3.90 an acre back on the Select Max, which means it only costs a couple bucks an acre to throw in the Select Max. It's absolutely worth it.
It is cheap, and there are some other products you can use as well, like Assure 2 and Fusion and Fusilade. There are a number of different volunteer corn killers you can mix in with Roundup. The big thing that you want to do, though, is don't just throw that product in with Roundup and think it's going to work. You need to add a little bit of surfactant to make those products work well, too.
Yeah, you can actually use some crop oil to make them work even better. And I know the Monsanto people say, don't throw crop oil in with our Roundup. You know what? We've done it on our farm. It works great. So you can use crop oil. Otherwise, at least make sure you're using non-ionic surfactant. You've got to have those in there because the surfactant in the Roundup is cationic surfactant. It does not help those grass killers.
Well, I got two other reasons why you need to stop volunteer corn on your farm. And the first one is that you could have rootworms feeding on that volunteer corn and skipping your corn-soybean rotation. This has been shown all across the country that when there are some rootworms out there in your field from corn one year, the next year those rootworms are going to be back and they'll be feeding on whatever they can find. So if there's volunteer corn plants out there, they will feed on that and they'll basically negate your corn-soybean rotation.
So the point is you've got to get your volunteer corn controlled early because rootworms are hatching in late May and early June and they're going to be feeding on those corn plants for only about a month. So let's say you wait till the end of June to spray your volunteer corn. Well, the rootworms already fed on all they needed to. Now they're going to make it till next time.
But I'm going to spray Roundup 2 different times. Which pass do I throw that volunteer corn killer
That's
in?
the big question. I say both. At least make sure you're getting the first flush. Get that done. If you've got some volunteer corn that comes in late, you know, you've got some. If you think you have enough, you're going to have to go spray or add something to your Roundup again the second time. But I'd make sure you're getting that volunteer corn early. That is the most important time.
Well, here's the other thing. If you've got a scattering of kernels in your field, they're all going to germinate roughly the same time and they'll be up. You'll see them fairly early in the year. If you've got ears of corn laying out there, there's going to be things sprouting later on. It's going to be really tough to get coverage. So pay attention to what you have for volunteer corn. If you've got ears of corn with a whole bunch of volunteer corn coming, you need smaller spray droplets, maybe a little bit more volume, and definitely you need that surfactant.
Yeah, and let's not forget, we're probably going to have a lot of volunteer corn this year because of all the harvest issues that everybody had last fall and as late as harvest extended. I just am looking for a big problem with volunteer corn this year, so make sure you control it on your farm.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's Weed, but there's more Ag PhD to come after this.